The market doesn't know what keeps you up at night. It doesn't know when you want to retire, and it doesn't know how old you are. The simple truth is, the market doesn't care. But if you care, you've tuned into the right place. You're listening to Investor Resources, bringing clarity to the confusing world of finance. Here are your hosts of Investor Resources, Don Creech and Perry Sykes.
This is Don Creech.
And this is Perry Sykes, and welcome to the Investor Resources Podcast.
So if you could have anything that you missed out on, what would it be?
Hot fudge sundae? No?
Okay, well, your doc won't like that. But
No.
just in recent history, you don't have to go back very far to find an awful lot of people who are saying, boy, I wish I still had a chance to get a 3% mortgage. I missed that one. You know, that happens to us in life, in all sorts of different things. I wish woulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda. You know, but there's winners and losers in every situation. And with this case and the mortgage business and the real estate prices, we know which area we fit into fairly easily. If you already owned a house back in 2020, you're one of the winners. If you still own that house, the odds are it's worth a whole lot more.
You've done well.
Than it was pre-COVID. And if right after COVID, when interest rates just collapsed, zero interest rate policy, also referred to as ZIRP, made an opportunity of lifetime, a generational opportunity to tie up a mortgage in the actually less than 3%. And certainly less than 4. Correct. And if that was you, you're another winner in the mortgage game. If it wasn't, you're probably a little depressed.
You can, because you saw it. It was there. Anybody could have had it, and that low interest rate was around quite a while. You know, the Feds had the interest rates artificially low a long time, and those low interest rates have been out there for a long time. I think everybody even got a little complacent about, well, I don't have to hurry up and refi, or if I'm buying something, I don't need to hurry up and buy it now because rates are going to be down for a long, long time. And man, oh man, when the Fed decided that rates were going to go up, they went up quickly and they went up substantially.
So the house prices pushing inflation up, that's about a third of the factor that the Fed's looking at. So that forced them to finally acknowledge inflation was a problem. If anybody was late to the game in this cycle, it was the Fed.
Ugh. And they really hated that. They hated missing it. They hated being out in public saying to everyone, hey, this inflation's probably transient. It's probably not going to last. It's probably just going to fade away. Don't worry about this too much. We're not. Don't worry. We're not worried at all. Turned out they missed it completely. They missed it completely, and here we are still fighting it today because they got behind the curve and are still there. They're still trying to play catch up.
And it's really frustrating because they have a staff of something like 450 advanced degree economists to figure out what's going on in the economy and guide them in their decision. And they were clueless on this, which is one of the real arguments for why do we have the Fed?
Good question. Yep, that's fair.
Maybe we'd be better off if we let the marketplace determine what was going on and let the market make its adjustments. There's always winners and losers there. Depends upon the economy, and basically the Fed and Congress are trying to determine who the winners should be, mostly their friends, and let everybody else just kind of figure out how to adapt to it. Let's give us an equal playing ground so they deal with the market the same way we do. But be that as it may, when you're comparing mortgage interest rates, the interest is the major variable in terms of calculating the value of your home purchase. Now, home prices have risen a lot in the last few years.
Yes.
And we're now dealing with what in near-term perspective look like nosebleed rates. But I mentioned on an earlier podcast that my second home I ended up paying 10 and 5/8. This is back
There
in
you go.
1990.
Yep.
And I remember my broker telling me, my mortgage broker saying, hey, anything I get in the 10 range, I consider to be a good deal. Well, that's because in prior decade, mortgage rates were as high as 21%. So
That is
10 was a
correct.
50% discount.
So if you're
That was
looking,
a
it's
bargain.
all about a perspective. Yeah. What have things been at recently? That's why a 7, 8% rate right now feels so high because it was two and change. So it's like that seems like way too much. But if you just step back a little bit, it's like, oh, okay, that's actually not a bad long-term rate when you look at where rates have been previously. So it's yeah, while it's high compared to what we just had, bigger picture, yeah, maybe not quite so bad.
And the long-term average mortgage rate, I think, is pretty close to 7. If you go through multiple decades, it's been
Right
higher, it's been
there you go.
lower. This is kind of in the, well, because 5% on treasuries
Yep.
is a pretty good long-term average for treasuries. It's
Yep.
just that recently our perspective is different. But if we go back a couple of years, the median price of a home at the tail end of 22 was about $360,000. We made a
Okay.
20% down payment, financed the rest at 3%. Well, the cost of the mortgage is less than $150,000. About, well, it's even less than half of the house. It's about 40% of what the cost of the house is.
Of the whole home, sure.
But that's our frame of reference. That's our hindsight bias, which gets us into problems about thinking of value in terms of today. Because today, when we take a look at the average price of a home, which is higher, it's a little over $400,000. Our 20% down payment leaves us with a mortgage of 330, and now with the interest rate where it is, the carry cost, the interest rate cost over a 30-year loan is over $470,000. It's more than the purchase price of the home.
So
It's no
that
wonder
math
people
doesn't look.
are reluctant to buy.
Yep, that math you just don't swallow as easily. It's like, well, that was not anywhere near as good a deal, and now my biggest expense is like you said, Don, is carrying costs. It's a financing price to pay just to have the mortgage becomes the most expensive part of the equation. You're like, I'm buying a piece of real estate, and the real estate's not going to appreciate enough to get you out of that for a while. That's why the mortgage market slowed down so much. All of a sudden, it's not a no-brainer to get out there and buy whatever you can find because the cost of the money to make the deal work is so inexpensive that you're going to grow out of that. It's going to be you're going to be profitable in no time. But now, when the highest portion of that cost is the interest that you're going to carry over the lifetime of that mortgage, now you're fighting both the value of the real estate and the ongoing cost of carrying that interest rate for 30 years. So you're looking at a lot more money to overcome before you're just at that break even point to say, okay, this is a safe investment to make. Could go either way now, and so that's going to really give people pause before they jump into that real estate investment now.
So the odds are that we will end up with a recession sometime in the next couple of years. The odds are that
Yep.
consumers run out of credit card use and they slow their spending, and that the pressure on interest rates kind of subsides. So that as interest rates fall, house prices, if interest rates fall, then people would be more inclined to sell an existing home and buy something with a little higher interest rate on their mortgage. As long as they're
Right.
not going from 3 to 8, they might go from 3 to 5. Otherwise, they probably aren't going to move unless the job says, no, you're not going to live here anymore. We need you across the country and you can't commute. So you're forced to
Correct.
sell out of that.
Right. Yep.
But as the economy slows and rates come down, even if you're in it now in a new mortgage at 8, the odds are you're going to be able to refinance into lower cost loans. That's what happened in the 80s. When
Right.
mortgage rates were late 70s, early 80s, mortgage rates were in the 20% range. And every couple of years, you could go in and refinance at a lower rate. House prices will still appreciate not as much as probably not as much as they did just post COVID, but that was a demand issue, supply demand shortage. And as supply increases, prices are going to come back, or homes will come back on the market to be a little more price competition. So there is some hope. However, the mortgage brokerage business has been under pressure because of the 8%. You think, hey, they should be making a ton of money. Look at these. But it's
Right.
not, because demand has gone away. And it doesn't matter whether it's mortgage market, stock market, or the grocery market, it's still a demand driven business. And so back during the ZIRP interest rate period, mortgage companies were looking for people to be brokers, and they were paying them to go to work. Come to work for me, and here's a big check. Right now, business ain't so good.
No, it kind of changed. They were when rates were down at 3%, they were in such demand that they were paying bonuses just to get more bodies to come work for them. They needed more human beings there to process all those loans because there was an unending backup of people who were trying to get in the real estate market. So those mortgage brokers were like, okay, the bottleneck is we don't have enough people to process all the paperwork we have. So let's just throw a big bonus out there, pay them some extra money. We need the most people with the most experience so we can do this faster than everybody else. But when the rates changed, the business just dried up. The number of transactions just dropped like a rock. All of a sudden, they've got all these agents out there ready to write mortgages. They got no buyers. They've got nothing to do, to the extent where those mortgage companies are out there asking the brokers to give back the hiring bonus now. They're like, nah, we're not going to be able to keep you on, so we're gonna let you go just at the last minute before the contract for that 100,000, say, we gave you to hire you expires, and it gives us the right to claw that back. We want that money back at this point, and that's happening a lot in the brokerage industry right now.
So there's winners and losers
Whoa.
in almost every situation. And the mortgage brokers who thought they had 100 grand racked up are all of a sudden saying, and maybe they're saying, where the money's gone, how do we get it
What
back?
happened? Yeah. What happened? Where do we go from here? And the mortgage companies are making no bones about it. They're threatening to sue them if they're not returning the funds. They said, hey, it's a contract you signed. You owe us the money at this point. We're going to get it. So you can pony that up, or you can talk to our attorney. Either way, we're not walking away. That's how bad the business is. They can't afford to be magnanimous at all and say, well, we got some time from you, you should keep part of the bonus. No, give it back. And if you don't, we're going to sue you. So it's very tough. It's very tight. And that's where the mortgage business is right now.
So if you feel like you were left out and you're the loser on the low mortgage, cheap house price business, be glad you're not a mortgage broker who has
Could
to
be
give
worse.
back every
Yeah.
bonus. I think that's a wrap, Gary.